I've been taking pictures for about 12 years now. Professionally, I've been doing about 8 years. Portrait, lifestyle, family, event photography. So I do a lot of family portraits, a lot of events, festivals, red carpets, concerts, big events like that. Okay? So this is from my recent work. This was up in an exhibit in September, from August to the end of October. It was in the South Street Seaport, which is in the city. All right, this is part of a group show called Inside Out. And it was about COVID and how photographers, artists dealt with COVID, essentially. This was taken on Juneteenth, 2020. I'm sure a lot of you remember that there was a lot of protests going on at that time. But me personally, I couldn't document protests because it takes a lot. It's a lot of energy to be out there, and it's a lot to document that. So I focused on the joy and the happiness of Juneteenth instead. All right, this is an event called The Layout, which happens at Fort Greene Park, which is in Fort Greene, Brooklyn, if y'all know about it. And it's essentially documenting our joy and just, you know, the energy of the day, because up until this point, we weren't outside. Everyone was indoors, everyone was by themselves, everyone was trying to figure out what was happening. Everyone was upset as well because of the George Floyd protests. So this was a day for release, this was a day of happiness, and that is what I wanted to capture with these images. So this is what I recently did. Like I said, this was in August. For this, I decided to make the frames myself. This is something I decided to do because during COVID, I learned how to work with wood. I started building bookshelves, TV stands. I wasn't out shooting, so I was at home building. All right, so for this project, I decided to make my own frames. The theme was bronze and copper, so I spray painted the frames metallic copper, and then I added glitter to it, right? Because glitter is essentially magic, right? We associate it with magic, fairy dust, like, and I believe that we all have magic within us and magic is around us, all right? So I wanted to incorporate that in the presentation of it. All right, so I'm gonna put this to the side real quick. And we can get into my website. So, like I said, I've been shooting for 10 plus years. I started shooting protests at first, documentary. I was interested in reportage, which is reporting. In undergrad, I studied history, which is in our focus in art. I studied history with the intention to teach history. But halfway through that, I found graphic design.
This is undergrad?
Yes, this is undergrad.
And where did you go to undergrad?
I went to Mosleh College, which is in Long Island. I had a partial soccer scholarship,
Oh, cool.
so that's where I went. All right.
So when you were in high school, did you know that you would take photography in college?
No, I didn't.
So how did you get into that class? Like, how did you end up there in a photography class?
Funny enough, I didn't want to teach.
You did not want to teach.
I did not want to teach at the time, and I was like, all right, I need to find another outlet for myself, another way to express myself. Because up until this point, I wasn't the greatest at public speaking, expression. I was pretty much very reserved and very shy.
Okay.
So I wanted something that was gonna take me out of my comfort zone.
Cool.
So I took a darkroom class. Is anyone familiar with the darkroom? Or know what the darkroom is? No.
We got one yes.
Okay.
What is it? Oh, we did turn that room into a dark room.
So a dark room is a pitch black room, right? Imagine it's pitch black, and all there is like an orange light, all right, a red light. Okay, it's very faint. At first, it's kind of like, whoa, what I just walked into? It's like you walk into a void. But around you are all these machines, right? You have a tray, you have a table with trays that are filled with chemicals. Then you have a machine called an enlarger. All right? Your film goes in the enlarger onto a piece of paper, and then step by step, it goes into each chemical. All right? That's the dark room.
It's pretty much how we made photographs.
Exactly.
Before
Or
we had
digital.
digital cameras and digital phones, you had to shoot on film. And then you had to develop the film.
Exactly. Miss Brooks, are you still connected to this? I'm not able to connect.
I'm not. What was the, do you remember the mode that we had?
I think it was 2.
HDMI. Or not video, not video.
There we go.
Okay. Okay, cool.
All right.
Anyone have any questions for him so far?
No.
No.
Really? Not one single question?
No.
All right. So I told you I'm a portrait photographer. A lot of what I do is around light, right? Photography is essentially painting with light, right? So a lot of my work uses light, and I use gels in my work.
What's
So,
gel?
Gels are sheets, thin, very thin, opaque sheets of color that create casts of light. So you can see in some of these images, like this one here, how this is purple.
Okay, so we have a question over here.
Yes.
Antonio, question.
I was gonna ask how do you insert it into the pictures?
How did I what?
Insert it into the pictures.
The gels.
How do I insert the gels? So the gels go over the lights itself, right?
So like it enhances it?
Right. So you see how the light's coming from behind her against the curtain? So you put the gel over the light, and it creates that purple cast. Okay? So these are some of the portraits I've taken over the years. Can you all see?
Yeah.
So a gel is literally when you have a light like this.
Good example, man.
Right.
You have a gel, you have a light like this. This isn't a real gel. This is just a piece of construction paper. But if it were a gel,
It would shine over like this, and the light that would come out would be this color. Would be blue. You understand?
what do we use now to help give our shots color? If we didn't shoot it with a gel, lenses, filters, what else?
A gel's kind of like a Ziploc bag that's like got a tint to it. Right?
Yeah. It's something that's tinted, that's see-through, that helps cast light onto something else. The colored light. Alright?
But now we can use, what do we have in this classroom? What are we surrounded by that helps us color photographs? Computers, and what's on the computer?
Photos.
Photoshop. There's
Photoshop.
also Lightroom. There's
Right.
lots of different apps, software that help us do that. This is the real way to do it.
So, I'm gonna go back to the beginning of my career, essentially. So I said I documented events and protests, right? After undergrad, I moved to California for 5 years. I went to art school in San Francisco. And what I first photographed out there was protest called Occupy. Who remembers or knows of Occupy protests?
Except for Brooks. Anybody know? The Occupy protest?
The 99% versus like the 1%. Y'all remember that at all? No?
I think so.
You think so? All right.
They're all like foreign stuff.
Pretty much the people were upset. Oh, it's not gonna go. Sorry, this is the biggest it's gonna show up right now.
The joys of teaching with technology.
Yep, it is. Yeah, these are all very small. Well, you can't see most of that. What happened? This was all bigger earlier. All right. Technology is, again, a pain,
Yes.
but I'll explain. So I mentioned I shoot events, festivals. Something I've done for the past 7 years is Sundance Film Festival. All right, it's a film festival that takes place in Park City in Utah, where all the big, not big yet, but all the movies are shown before they're released to the public. So movies like Fruitvale Station, what's some other good ones that have come out recently? Come on, what's some movies y'all seen recently? Who? Not Black Panther. Get Out. Remember Get Out, the scary movie? That was shown at Sundance. All right, so Sundance is where the Amazon, Netflix, all the movie theaters come to look at these films and purchase them, right? And then they send them to theaters. All right. So what I do at Sundance is I shoot the red carpets. So I'll be shooting celebrities, directors, actors, and that's what I've been doing for the past 7 years. I'll be going back in January. This will make year number 8. Okay? Another project that I have is also a carnival project. Who knows carnival? Anyone else familiar with what carnival is? Yes? All right.
Jaden, what is it?
Yeah, there's the one maybe like Labor Day. It happens around like the end of summertime on Eastern Parkway. They have everybody, they dance up in the colorful costumes, the feathers, the gems. They dance around the parade.
Right. So far, my goal was to travel to every carnival around the world.
Oh, cool.
So far, I've been to most in the U.S. and Canada, Bahamas, and England Carnival. So Notting Hill Carnival, which is one of the biggest in the world. So, these are some of the portraits I've taken over the years as well. This is from this year.
Can you talk to us about how did you start shooting a big festival like Sundance? Like, how did they find you as a photographer, and how did you start working? And that's essentially a freelance photography job.
Right, it is.
So, how does a freelance photographer, or how did you get started as a freelance photographer?
I had to put together a portfolio.
Okay.
Put together a body of work, and I essentially just started shooting it out to all the festivals, newspapers, as many places
You
as
were
I could.
sending it out?
I was sending it out, yeah.
Unsolicited, meaning they weren't asking.
Right, they weren't asking for it. I would just send it out. Because
How did you know where to send it?
Google. You Google the company, or if it's a magazine, you Google the magazine, or you open up the magazine, look at who the editors are. You Google the editors. You can find them on LinkedIn. You can find them on Google, and you then email them, right? You email the editing company, the editing department, the marketing department for the festivals, for publications, and that's how you initially get your foot in the
Send your
door.
work to places that you're interested in, maybe you'd like to work there.
Right,
And that's how you got the Sundance gig?
yes.
That's amazing.
So the first year was a voluntary basis, and then after that, they brought me back on as paid staff.
So what do you mean by, explain that first voluntary?
What happened?
Okay.
In my department, there were staff of photographers that had been there for years,
Okay.
and they needed, fresh photos, new blood. They just needed a change.
Yeah.
So they brought me in that first year as a volunteer, but they had me working like I was one of the paid photographers.
So it's kind of like, can I say it's kind of like an internship for adults?
Kind of, yes.
Unpaid.
Unpaid, but they took care of housing and airfare,
Okay.
right? So I was out there, stayed out there for free. I didn't have to pay for anything. Then the second year, they brought me back as a paid photographer and still covered all my expenses.
Amazing.
Yeah. So it's 2 weeks out in Utah, and it's really a great networking opportunity. Next thing about art is you have to network. You have to get yourself out there and network, because this is not a straight path. It's not like you're going to be a doctor or a teacher where it's like steps. It's like a formula, right? You have to reach out. You have to be in constant contact and communication with the people that you meet on a daily basis. I'd say make the art that you want to make. Don't make art for other people. Create what you want, because that's what's going to get you noticed, all right? If you create art for everyone else, you're always going to be pleasing somebody else instead of yourself. So make art that you want to make.
Great advice.
What else?
So that was, what was, so that's a job as a freelance photographer, right? But you
Right.
also have other jobs. Why do you have other jobs?
I have other
What
jobs.
are those other jobs?
I said, what are those other
What
jobs?
are your other jobs? So you're a freelance photographer,
Right.
what else do you do?
I used to work at Prospect Park in the special events department. That gave me access to concerts and movie sets, movie shoots that happen in the park. Initially, I was just there to make sure they didn't mess up the park, but as I grew as a photographer, I was able to take pictures on sets of the concerts. I was able to see behind the scenes. So, that gave me access to more content, essentially.
Right, that's cool.
Other jobs. I'm a teacher. I'm a substitute teacher with the emphasis to become an arts photography teacher. Okay? And as an artist, you're going to start out with, yes, I'm going to make art, and that's going to pay the bills, and it will for a bit until it doesn't, because things are always changing. Sometimes you're hot, sometimes you're not, and you have to have money to constantly pay the bills and live every day, right? We need to survive. So, if you have a job that pays you to do your art, that's great, right? If you're a graphic designer for a marketing company, that's great. Not everyone's gonna be that lucky, right? So sometimes you need to have side hustles to do the artwork. Okay?
Any questions about that? Anyone in this room think that they might want to become a professional photographer?
You're out. You do?
Jaden, yes? You're considering it? Cool.
I got a question, right?
No.
Would you ever, let's say somebody asks you for advice for being an artist and a photographer, what
Mhm.
advice would you give them?
What advice would I give them? Being an artist and a photographer? All right. First piece of advice, start the day with gratitude, an attitude of gratitude every single day. because that attitude will get you through the day and it'll get you through doors. People remember how you made them feel, right? And people remember how you showed up. So if you're smiling and you're positive and you're bubbly and you're thankful, people will always remember that. Second advice for artists, like I said before, make what you want, create what you want. You may not know what you want to create,
What do you
really.
do if you don't know what you want to create?
That's a good.
I'm asking anyone. If you know you want to, be a photographer,
I'll probably.
but you don't really know what you want to shoot or what kind of photographer you want to be, maybe for portraits or for products, how could you get started to figure out what you want to do as an artist?
Hmm?
I think you could do experimentation.
What
Can
ideas you
experiment.
have?
Yeah. How would you experiment?
With different angles, types of photos, different ways of doing the photo.
Right.
Clarissa, can you say that louder?
Oh, I said you could do experimentation, different types of way of doing the photos, different types of doing things for photos. Like example, as you guys said before in Photoshop, stuff like that. You can find different ways of doing photos.
Yeah. Do you have an idea what you want to shoot or photograph?
What I want to.
Yeah.
Probably still life photos.
Still live. Okay.
So there's a big market, still life is a big market for product shops,
Yeah.
right?
Do you look at magazines and product photography?
Yeah, more say I've seen this one guy. He does a lot of photography on TikTok.
Okay.
So like he will walk around and he'll do free photo shoots for people, just random people on the street. Or he would do like a photo shoot for people like different companies and different shops. Like Panda Express or things like that.
Let me
And
ask
that's
you a
what
question. Why do
people.
you think that guy is doing free photo shoots and putting it on TikTok?
Well, it is another form of revenue, but it could also be something that he loves to do. So he's able to do it.
How would it be a form of revenue? If you're gonna just go out there and do free stuff, how can that bring you money?
Because the platform that he posted it on has a lot of people watching it, and the more views he gets and more followers he gains from posting the videos, he could get money from that. Plus, other people could notice him, and he could get sponsorship from certain people to do photos for them, and end up just the revenue and the money. They'll start to flow as he continues on doing this.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, look at what you want to, find out what you want to shoot, and look at that, right? Look at it and then model your own work off of it, and then find your style. All right, and then create what you want, the way you want to do it.
Would you mind showing us that series that we were looking at this morning, the,
Sure. What it feels
How
like.
We Feel, what's it called?
What it feels like.
What it feels like.
All right, so this was a show. This was an exhibit, actually, an art exhibit that me and my friends thought of. She curated it, and I took the photos for it. All right, we've contacted 8 artists and asked them what it feels like to be an artist of color right now, Black artists, trying to navigate the art world and dealing with COVID at the same time. We had access to a couch company, which is in Dumbo. We used that space as a studio space, and we photographed there. So the concept is essentially, who knows like a psychiatrist's office look like? Nobody? All right. So when you're talking to a doctor or psychiatrist, you're usually sitting on a couch, right? In a comfortable space. So that's what we try to emulate here. We use the couches as the spaces to talk. And we photograph each artist with their tools. This computer cuts off. Oh no, this is right here. Oh wait, no, the computer does cut off the image. So what you can't see in this image right here is her spray paint and her shoes, which are in front of the couch. This was the very first image we took and the very first artist we photographed. we decided that we wanted the artists to bring objects that define themselves and their style and their tools. So she brought paintbrushes and spray paint. Halfway through the shoot, I was like, wait, we're sitting down in the couch. Usually when I'm sitting down somewhere on the couch, I take my shoes off. When I'm at home, I don't wear shoes in the house. The shoes always come off, right? So I had,
We can't see the bottom of it
I
showing
know.
here.
because I don't know.
Oh, that's the aspect ratio business.
Yeah,
So you can't see, but her shoes are off here.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we photograph each artist on a different couch, right? We try to color code it with their artwork to have color theory.
I love this shot.
Oh.
Yeah, he's a big artist and he has a really huge Instagram following.
What's his name?
His name is Ike Swimster, I believe. He does a lot of funny videos and DJing as well.
So you can't see it on the big screen, but you guys looked at his Instagram earlier. So his shoes are off here, right? And in the previous scene, the previous photo, this woman also has her shoes off.
Right.
And what does that add to? What does that contribute when you see these shots and the shoes are off? What does that do for the scene? A more realistic vibe. What else? What other kind of vibe?
Gives it a more comfortable vibe.
More comfortable, yeah.
Right. And you get a sense of who the artist is through their shoes as well, right?
Do you guys think that the shoes someone is wearing kind of gives some identity to that person?
Yes. Yeah.
So I wanted you guys to look at that because many of my seniors are, you guys you're inside of the art course, right, where you have to come up with a whole series of work.
So this was another project we did called Homecoming at Home. My friend went to Howard and we wanted to emulate what it would be like to have homecoming at home, essentially, because homecoming was canceled. So we got a bunch of Howardites together and there's three parts to the homecoming. There's the yard, there's the quad, and essentially the tailgate. Okay, so there's three stages. There's the prep before the party and then the after party. So here is like the prep. All right, doing here, so it's telling the story. Doing makeup, reminiscing about Howard, a little love affair happening. Shape up, looking fresh.
These are great shots. It's definitely hard. We're losing the vibrant color because of that screen.
Yeah.
We have a question. What kind of camera are you using?
So I use a digital camera. I have it here with me. I use digital and I use film.
Whoa, wow.
So why do you use both?
I use both because I learned on film. So naturally, I just love working with film. But film takes a long time to develop and it's not instant. Clients sometimes want something instant. And that's why I shoot with digital, which I'm gonna get right now.
What is this one called?
That's a Yashica TLR, which means twin
my
lens
God.
reflex camera.
Oh my god.
That's cool.
Extreme.
Yeah, I developed my own film.
extremely cool.
You develop your own film?
Yep.
Oh wow.
You have a dark room at home.
Yes, I would make sure it's dark.
Oh my god.
Are you work with color or black and white film?
Both.
Wow.
Wow. Wow.
Albertson Press.
I am.
Wow.
May I let some of my students look through this?
Yeah. So,
Amazing.
No. Stand up. Stand up, Albert. Look. This is what we call the viewfinder, right?
yes.
That's what they put on the digital cameras now.
Yeah. That, oh my god.
And then there's this
Oh,
one.
wow, that's a great one.
Oh my god.
Is that a 4x5?
Yep, this is a 4x5.
Okay, so why is that camera called a 4x5?
Because the negative size is 4x5, 4 inches by 5 inches.
Oh wow.
You don't need a great book.
No, you can see through it.
See through. Oh my
Go
god.
Get like a 60s vibe.
You know what?
A 60s vibe.
Yes.
Not the 1960s vibe
Everything
though.
upside down.
Oh wow.
And I've used this camera actually in California to document graffiti and abandoned spaces.
What is
What is graffiti?
Yeah.
Graffiti is writing the street art on buildings.
And that's not new.
No, that's
Army
film.
put it to the side.
Oh,
This is a digital camera.
that's digital.
Yes.
That's digital.
Jaden, can you see through it? I'll go take a look at that one. Would anyone else like to come and take a look through the viewfinder of these cameras?
It's upside down. Why?
It's like
It's upside down though.
Yeah.
Why?
Because it's a mirror.
pointing that way, but I'm holding it this way. Okay.
So maybe that's a question.
What's the question?
Clarissa, ask him the question.
It's like I'm
You can hold
holding
it.
it.
Oh.
Why is she, say, you say the question.
Put your phone down. Put your phone in your pocket. There you go.
Wow.
It's because of the mirrors and how the glass is set up. That you have to go left, you have to go right. Like it's it's very trippy at first,
It is true.
but you get the hang of it eventually. And this is how you focus. Like this. Yeah, it's always upside down.
Can't say. I'm not arguing with you.
Mr. A,
Smile for the camera.
whatever, you go take a look in there. Come get up. Stop being so lazy, get up and take a look. Got that on camera?
Yes,
Did you teach yourself how to use that camera or did you learn that?
I taught myself how to use this.
Yeah. I remember that.
Most of the film cameras I've taught myself how to use.
That little guitar camera was pretty.
Yeah, that's